When you watch YouTube videos or read some articles, you might hear people talking about file systems in different ways. The word file system can have many different meanings, and please do not get confused with that. In this tutorial, we're gonna define a file system like that. It's a set of directories defined by the file system hierarchy standard. Since you are using a terminal, it makes sense to explore the Linux file system from a terminal window. So let's start. Let's change directory to root directory. So I'm going to use cd and then /. So root directory is defined with / and then press enter. Use ls to list all the directories under root. And you see that we have many directories under this root directory. There is also better command to show the directory tree. It's called the tree and we have to use that command. So let's use tree, press enter. So it's not found because we have to install it. I'm going to use yum install tree. Sorry for that, we have to switch to root user. Let's use this command again, yum install tree and y option. Use Ctrl L to clear the screen. So we have to use this tree command. Let's use tree. First of all, let's go to the root directory and here let's use tree command. So what's happening here? Seems that it lists all the directories and files under root, but we don't need it actually. Let's use Ctrl C to stop that, clear the screen. But how we're gonna use this tree command just to display only the directories under root? We already learned that there is also man page for every command. We can use man page of that tree command. So man tree, and let's search for some options. Okay, option A, it will list all the files because as a default it just lists the files. But if you use A option, it will list all the hidden files as well. Okay, I think we have this L option here. So it says that it will display the depths of the directory tree. Okay, I think I got it. What does it mean? Let's use tree and then -L. So it says missing argument to L option. So we have to provide argument. I believe that it should be some number because we are talking about depths of the directory. So it means that if I use 2, it will search for 2 depths, level 2, which means that, so for example, var directory is under the root. If you look at ls command, you see that under root we have this var directory. Let's clear the screen, and if we use L2, it will search for var directory under root, and also under this var directory it will list all other directories as well. So I think we can use L1. This is better. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Okay, clear the screen, run it again. So this is better. As you can see, we have many directories under root. So first of all, we don't need to know much about this. The first directory called AFS. So it is just a distributed file system. But let's start from the bin directory. Let's go to the bin, cd bin directory, and let's run tree command here. So we have 765 files here. So bin directory contains binary files or executable files which are necessary for the operating system. Let's use ls actually. If you remember in the previous section, I mentioned that commands that we use such as pwd, ls, they're all placed in this directory. For example, let's search for pwd. As you see that it is here. There is also one more directory. Let's go back. Let's run tree. There is also one more directory called sbin. You may ask that what is the difference between these two directories. So sbin directory also contains executable files, but the difference is that they should only be run or executed by the root user. So if you do ls, this sbin directory, you will see that we have also some binary files here. These directories, sbin or bin directory, also share the common libraries, and all these libraries is placed under this lib folder or lib directory. If you do ls, you will see that we have some libraries here. You may see different lib directories like lib32 or lib64. So they are kind of used for the same purpose. But the thing is, for example, lib64 will just store 64-bit programs. Since we are talking about binaries, we also have this user directory. Let me list all the files under this user directory. As you see that this directory, it has its own bin or spin lib directories, which also contains executable files that are not necessary for the operating system. And it means that they are intended for the users, for the end users actually. In addition, if you remember, in the previous section, we talked about path variable that contains these directories. For example, if I do echo, then $, and then print this path variable, all those directories that we taught, they are all placed here. So when we run any command, it will search for that command within these directories. Then we have etc directory. Let me treat it again. So we have this etc directory, which just contains configuration files. If you want to modify or customize your system, this is the directory that you should look at. If you do ls, you will see that we have a lot of configuration files here. We also have a home directory. You see that we have this home directory. As you already guessed, it contains home directories of different users. For example, right now we have only one user. Let's go to this directory. And if you do ls, you will see that we have only one user called hknudemo1. If there were many users, home directories of those users will be placed here. Actually, we can test it. Although we haven't learned how to add users yet, I just would like to show it to you for the purpose of understanding the home directory. So I'm going to use user add command. I'm going to add the user name test. So we just added our user, and let's see that if we have the home directory of this user. If you do ls, you will see that we have this test directory here. If you have a lot of users, the home directories of the all users will be placed here. Let's go back and let's do 3 again. We also have a few other directories, such as dev, for example. So dev directory contains device files. For example, if you do ls, you will see that all the device files here. So what does it mean? That if you plug in a new USB drive or new webcam to your Linux machine, a new device will be created here automatically. Let's go back. Then we have a boot directory. You see that above there we have this boot directory. This directory contains files that are required to start your system. So if you don't have advanced knowledge of the Linux, then it's recommended not to touch any of these files. Let me just do ls, this boot directory, and you see that we have some files here, and you can break your machine if you mess up one of these files. So that's why it's not recommended to touch these files. We also have this optional directory. So it's called opt. Where is that? It's here. So it comes from the word optional, and it is used to store software that you compiled, which means you built the software yourself from a source code. So right now there is nothing in this directory because we didn't compile any software ourselves. And then we have this var directory, or in other words, the variable directory. It just contains variable files. If you do ls, we have some variable files here. So those variable files will change during the use of the operating system. And this directory is also popular for the log files. You will find your log files in this directory. For example, under var, there is this log directory. You will find some log files here. Then we have this tmp directory. Tmp directory contains temporary files. Actually, this name, the tmp, also comes from the word temporary. So it contains temporary files. So Linux itself can place temporary files, or you can also place some temporary files under this directory. So if you do ls, for example, right now we have some temporary files here, like systemd, service files, and ssh files, and etc. But why this directory called temporary or tmp? Because the files under this directory will be deleted after some time. So it depends on the Linux distribution. On some system, files under tmp will be deleted after reboot, and other systems may have cron jobs that running deleting files older than some number of hours or days. Let's print all the directories again. So we have talked about all necessary directories that you need to know, but a few directories still left. If you want to learn more about them, you can ask your best friend Google, or you can use the resource that I attached for this lesson.